So, a lot of my Christian friends have told me before that anything is possible through Jesus. But I just want to let you know, anything is possible through DayQuil. Because when I tell you, last night and this morning, I was like, I'm going to come to this recording, but you're doing all the talking. And then I got up and I took some DayQuil and I'm like, I'm amped.
Well, I love that because I can't do all of the talking today. I'm definitely more on than last week when I was taking a nap, and you definitely held us together.
Well, it takes a village. It takes a village.
Well, happy Black History Month to you, and sponsored by DayQuil.
Sponsored by DayQuil. And I can't believe we've gotten this far into February without talking about Black History Month, but there's one person I really want to give a happy Black History Month to.
Throw it out.
Meghan Markle. Happy Black History Month. Meghan Markle.
One of my favorite grifters. One of my favorite women who proclaim to not know how to use Google and aren't searching the men that they are dating, including when it's a prince of a royal family.
She's like, who?
Google who?
But she woke up to the news, I assume, or maybe she got a sneak peek, but we woke up to the news that the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew was getting money from his dear mama, Queen Elizabeth, to pay off his sex crimes. Yeah, so we found out this morning that Queen Elizabeth lent Prince Andrew the equivalent of like $12 million to pay off Virginia Giuffre. I was calling her Virginia Giuffre. I think it's Virginia Giuffre. And then another $3 million came from his dad, King Philip. Wait, he wasn't a king. Prince Philip's estate. And then King Charles gave him $1.5 million, and then some other money came cobbled together for some other royals. Anyway, all to say, his whole family conspired.
So it was a cabal of royals basically putting into the piggy bank for Andrew to get away with his crimes.
The buying of silence piggy bank. Isn't that crazy?
It's not that crazy to me because you want to know what? I've put on my crown. I was an Anglophile watching The Crown on Netflix, learned my history of Elizabeth, and let it not be forgotten that Elizabeth was the great maintainer. She maintained the monarchy longer than anyone in history, and with that, all of its secrets. Mm-hmm. And she's also the woman who made Diana go crazy in many ways. She concealed information. She is the one who plotted on her downfall. There is a reason why cracks are being shown today, and it's because Elizabeth is no longer here.
Yep. I mean, the Meghan Markle of it all, we saw how this family plants stories in the press. So they were doing that with Diana.
Well, and like Meghan, but I think kind of with less ulterior motives, I will say, Diana refused to remain silent. Mm-hmm. And that was ultimately her problem with the crown, is that she was going to speak about her own injustices in her marriage, but also how they handled themselves as an aristocracy. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember that the crown not only holds this power as a entity in terms of what they represent to the world as figureheads, they control things like the media.
All of the things that have come out over the years, whether it be about Diana or it be about Meghan or it be about former Prince Andrew, you would think that this would be a cry for there not to be an aristocracy in 2026, right? Like, what is the need for this family in 2026? And not only is there no need, they're actively, being bad people.
Well, I think that goes back to my thesis statement of the great maintainer. Elizabeth is gone. Can the aristocracy be maintained when we're now questioning what their role really is? Mm-hmm. What is their role?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it to maintain evil and status quo through power and privilege? Because it's looking like that.
The English press is making a big to-do about the fact that Prince Andrew, or former Prince Andrew, has not paid back a single cent of this money. And I'm like, who cares? Like, he apparently was planning to sell a ski chalet in Switzerland for 19 million pounds.
Pay back the people who
helped him silence
do his bidding.
Exactly.
Who cares about them getting their money back?
Exactly.
That's not what this story's about.
Literally. And I've seen it so often. And Virginia Giuffre talked about in her posthumous book,
a word that I have to call Candace for pretty much every day. I'm like, posthumous.
In her book that came out after she died.
Posthumous.
She talks about what good she planned to do with that money. And she started several foundations to help combat sex trafficking with that money to the tune of $22 million. And, she left behind 3 children and a husband. And we talked about last week that she, apparently died of suicide, but we have since put on our tinfoil hats and we don't believe any of this.
I don't believe Virginia died of suicide. I don't believe Diana died just from simply a car chase with paparazzi.
And I don't believe Jeffrey Epstein died of suicide in jail.
So you're following the images that are now in question of him being AI or not in Israel?
Yeah, so the images have come out of a Jeffrey Epstein and that he's like walking around Israel with 2 bodyguards. And as you and I have been saying on the phone, I don't know. I believe
we don't
anything.
know up from down anymore. To which I say, which I told you, the only simple resolution for this is exhume the body. Exhume the body. Because there are people who question it. Exhume the body. Let's see the body.
Yeah. And so the other little...
We all watch NCIS. We all see dead bodies in freezers all of the time, right?
Well, people were putting the puzzle together when, he first died. They were like, those are not his ears. Like, the ears are apparently like the footprint of the face. And people were like, those are not his ears. And apparently the guy in Israel has his ears. But the other thing that's come to light is that his username on Fortnite is now active.
Was the username in the Epstein files?
Was
he like, Elon, hit me up?
No, so the username that's being used on Fortnite is a username that he used in some other platform. I can't remember what it is, but it's being used in Israel. This Fortnite, this Fortnite account. So yeah, shit is crazy.
But nothing is crazier than Miss Pam Bondi.
She got some nerve.
Oh, she got some nerve. And this DOJ, Department of Justice hearing, she is the Attorney General. Mm-hmm. What she should really be called is the Deflector General. She deflects like nobody's business.
Yeah.
People are making the comparison that she is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Donald Trump.
I mean, Bryan, is there anyone in the world that you are riding for as hard as Pam Bondi is for Donald Trump?
No. Literally, I mean, no.
She is riding for this man as if her life depends on it. And it might. But yeah, she is going up against the Judiciary Committee this week, and they're questioning her. Democrats are coming for her. And
not only Democrats, there's one Republican man in the mix doing the work.
Tom Massey. Mm-hmm. So the House Judiciary Committee, they're questioning her handling of the Epstein files, on why certain things are redacted, why haven't they all been released. And Ted Lieu of California straight up called her a liar because she said that Donald Trump there's nothing in the files that suggests that he's committed any crime.
He pulled up the receipts right away. He said, I'm gonna hold you to that. I think you just lied under oath. This is all being videotaped. I think you might have forgotten that. Here's a statement from a limousine driver who was made privy to a conversation that Donald Trump was having with Epstein on a cell phone. He called into the FBI hotline to alert about this matter. It was never looked into. The victim that was being spoken about on this phone who was possibly raped, definitely raped. Her head was blown off, and it was never investigated. And they never called the witness, said limousine driver. They just acted as if this never happened, which is to what I was going to say to you is the DOJ is a protect pedophiles hotline. You call in and nothing is investigated.
What motivation does Pam Bondi have to protect a ring of pedophiles, but the number one pedophile she's protecting is Donald Trump?
And then all of her diversions are the S&P and the NASDAQ, and Caroline Leavitt was doing this yesterday during a White House briefing. And it's like, we're not here to talk about the economy. We're here to talk about pedophilia and powerful elites, not just domestically, but globally, taking advantage of women, young girls, children. We don't care about the financial status of America. But if we're calling it into the space, who's getting richer? Oh, all of the men who are named in the files, not the everyday American.
So Caroline Leavitt and Pam Bondi, they use this psychological tactic called DARVO. And DARVO stands for defend, attack, reverse victim offender. So it's like, first you defend, then you go on the attack, and then you are like, the offender's actually the victim, right? And they are both really, really experts at this.
Anyone who has an acronym at their disposal is powerful. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Ted Lieu called her a liar. Thomas Massie, the Republican who's involved here from Kentucky, he's not running again next year. Now, this is what bothers me about Republicans. Republicans have shown over and over again that they're unwilling or unable to stand up to Donald Trump until they're done. And they're like, when they're out the door, they're like, okay, then I'll speak up.
One thing I will have to say that I like about him is that when he was called out for having Trump derangement syndrome from Pam Bondi, he said, I don't care about Donald Trump. This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about 4 administrations: Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump. All of them have ignored this. This has been a decades-long cover-up. It's bigger than Watergate. It's bigger than any one person. I'm not trying to pin the blame on any single president. I'm blaming all of them.
Well, this goes to what is constantly said in these comments about like, well, Bill Clinton, well, Bill Gates, as if I'm supposed to get up and defend these people. I don't give a fuck about Bill Clinton or Bill Gates.
I want them all to be held responsible. I think that they know that if all of these powerful people are held responsible, the fabrics of society will become untethered.
Pam Bondi said as much.
But let it become untethered. Let the people figure it out.
She was like, our systems will collapse. Let them fucking collapse, Pam. We don't want these systems.
Nobody wants these systems. And this is the thing. They've been charting their escape with space and all of these extracurricular activities. Even think about where the wealthy spend their time in terms of hobbies: yachting, sailing, game for sport, hunting. They not only are profiting off of all of us in terms of we're already their worker bees, but they're stealing our time to know how to survive, to garden, whatever it may be, while we're all just bogged down on this hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And they have their exit route to space. They have their ability to survive here on Earth if need be, while all the rest of us are just subjected to work for essentially a cabal of pedophiles.
And going back to the TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, like you said, another acronym. You know what? Maybe I do have Trump Derangement Syndrome. This presidency has made me feel completely crazy.
I think Trump Derangement Syndrome, especially how it was being used against Thomas Massie, is, oh, your eyes wide open? Shut those.
Yeah. They try to use
Put the blinders back on.
They try to use it as, oh, you're so obsessed with him. Like everything is about Trump. You're so obsessed with him. No, people who support him, they have Trump derangement syndrome. He said it himself when he first ran for president in 2016, that he could shoot someone in Times Square and no one would do anything about it. We are now here where this man he has kidnapped president of another country. He has threatened almost to the point of war, of taking another country, Greenland. We are now to the point where we know that this man has hurt children. Nothing is happening.
Nothing is happening, and part of it is a lack of acknowledgement. I mean, Pam Bondi, she wouldn't even turn around and acknowledge the survivors and or victims, however you want to label them. I literally don't care. Both and.
Yes.
Survivors and victims behind her who are trying to testify to the DOJ. They won't pick up their calls. They don't want to hold any meetings. They don't want to hold anyone accountable. They don't want to acknowledge. And Senator Becca Balint of Vermont, she said, can't you just acknowledge these women? To which Pam, instead of wanting to acknowledge the women, brings up Bill Clinton and Merrick Garland, who, let it be known, are not in the space, are not physically available to be questioned. We're not saying that they shouldn't be questioned, but she's the one at this hearing having to answer for the DOJ. That's what this is about, how the DOJ handled the Epstein files. So Balint responds to that, weak sauce, hilarious. And then Pam goes, I want the record to reflect with this anti-Semitic culture, she, meaning Balint, voted against a resolution condemning from the river to the sea. Meanwhile, Balint is Jewish, lost her grandfather in the Holocaust, and I need everyone to remember, the National Council of Jewish Women opposed Pam's nomination for the very role that they are questioning she should have.
Deflecting. She's like, I have a bag of tricks. I'm going to throw this wrench at you. I'm going to throw this ball at you. I'm going to throw all of this shit at you.
It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Essentially, she would just bring up some misdemeanor in someone's past that has nothing to do
with anything.
To which they could say, yeah, that's true, but this is about the Epstein files.
Well, and she infuriated Balint so much that she stormed out. She stormed out of the hearing. Balint did.
I know.
Look, people are calling for the impeachment of Pam Bondi. I'm pretty tapped in, but I will admit that I'm not tapped into the structures that need to be in place to get rid of the head of the DOJ. But what I do know is that they're not in place because there's not enough Republicans who have enough backbone to make the numbers work with the Democrats. And there's at least 7 Democrats who may as well be Republicans at this point.
We can no longer trust the system in place. The people have to speak out.
But what does that mean?
It means that when we start to say the same things that Joe Rogan and Candace Owens are saying, which partly is the truth, we're in the upside down. And I think that people are going to start to realize that being conspiratorial might just be you seeing reality for what it is.
Agreed.
Bringing in the Epstein of it all. We haven't even talked about Ghislaine Maxwell being deposed this week. And for every question she was asked, yet again, simple questions. Were you aware that pedophilia was taking place? Plead the fifth. Did you bring women to Jeffrey Epstein? Plead the fifth. That means she won't even say no. She's not saying no. She's saying, I plead the fifth. And she's pleading the fifth, saying, if you are able to offer me clemency, Mr. Donald Trump, I will certainly say on record that you had nothing to do with this.
Yes. She has been flagging that she will clear his name in exchange for a pardon. I would like to think that if we got to the point that Donald Trump pardoned Ghislaine Maxwell, that people would be in the streets with their pitchforks. Because if you remember, Donald Trump ran on this idea that he was going to make all the Epstein files available. People had this belief that Trump was this great protector of children. if you were on any of those dark websites, people who were part of those QAnon groups were like, Trump is doing his part to stop child trafficking. If he pardons Ghislaine Maxwell and people who believed that he was this great speaker-upper of children, freer of children, stopper of sex trafficking, if they don't speak up, my head might actually explode.
But we already know that he's not, because his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who said he didn't know anything about Epstein, he cut him off in whatever, 2005, is on record, and now he's not even walking this back, that he was on Epstein Island 2012 having, quote, lunch with him, just a casual lunch on Epstein Island in 2012, 4 years after 2008, when Epstein was convicted. Not only convicted, pled guilty. Epstein himself pled guilty in 2008 that he had sexual relations with minors, and Trump is standing fully behind him.
Because birds of a feather. Well, and it just boggles my mind how many people's wives are involved. Howard Lutnick, I think his wife went to this brunch. Elon Musk's wife, you know, they were like, how can we join like the hottest party on the island?
White women, which we already know based on voting patterns for Trump, have betrayed women over being white and powerful.
Absolutely. And I will say this. Sometimes racism saves you, because what also has come out in these Epstein files is that he said absolutely no black girls, to which I say, hallelujah, holla fucking luya.
That's insane. I didn't even know about that. And then also, I've been thinking about this. It's really interesting how even race can even come into play with power, how people will trade identities in terms of class. Because look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z, I think first and foremost, he's in these files, and, you know, he has defenders. Even Beyonce herself has always said, oh, I met him when I was 18. I met him when I was 18. We started dating when I was 19. Okay, but he was your music producer. He was 30, and you could have still been in high school. He's trying to curate and serve your image to the masses for his financial gain as well. And what I am now questioning too is, we know of the moment of him in the elevator with Solange. What was that about?
True.
What was that about?
True.
If you have close enough proximity to the white and powerful elite, you'll leave all of your other identifiers behind to also play into their elite-like antics.
I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, I think that Pharrell is, you know, really on black people's nerves lately. A few years ago, maybe closer to a decade ago, Pharrell came out with this thing saying he's new black. And new black was this idea of like leaving the shackles of blackness behind. Like we're not defined by our past of slavery and civil rights history and all of that. Like we can break free of that. And it's this idea of you've transcended race. Now, that would be great to be able to actually everyone be able to transcend race and be judged by the content of their character, as MLK said. But the fact of the matter is, that's not real. And just recently during the Grammys, he accepted the Dr. Dre Award, already problematic. Hello. Dr. Dre, who it is confirmed that Dr. Dre has beat at least one woman, probably more than one woman.
And we're not talking about headphones.
We are not talking about headphones. He beat D. Barnes in front of his friends. So the fact that this man can go from being an out and out abuser in front of people to a mega mogul to having a Lifetime Achievement Award named after him is insane. But anyway, Pharrell was accepting this award, And he gets up there and he's like, never stop working. You can stop anything else, but never stop working. And it's like, you get to this point in the capitalistic machine and you're telling us, the worker bees, never stop working. By the way, this comes on the heels of him giving a speech where he tells a group of Black people that they need to forget about DEI, that DEI is a crutch, and that you should just focus on excellence. Pharrell, I'm sorry. The math is not mathing, and history tells us that if DEI doesn't exist, then Black people get left behind because white people in power conspire to keep us out of their spaces.
And we've seen this. DEI has been erased from corporate spaces. Guess what? I no longer have any Black colleagues left that I used to work with.
Black women in the last year have been, I think, the most affected by layoffs. Just in my little circle, of 4 Black women journalists, 3 of us are now out of full-time work, and we all worked at big corporations. Anyway, Black capitalism is not going to save Black people. That's my message for Black History Month.
Capitalism isn't going to save people.
And capitalism is not going to save any of us.
It's actually the reason why they're able to control this narrative and why everything's connected. Because I'm at a place where when I used to scratch my head at people who would say Bush did 9/11, well, let's also not forget how many of those white men in his fucking cabinet, including Dick Cheney, profited off of oil margins and oil investments in the Middle East, that they had it all plotted out before the Twin Towers were struck and before we ultimately went to war.
And the fact that we went into multiple countries, some of which had nothing to do with 9/11. Listen, I'm with you. Like, I do not consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I am here with you. Like, I always believed that the government killed Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but now I'm like, sure.
Now I'm like, they have Savannah Guthrie's mom. Because why is Savannah Guthrie not on the Today Show being able to speak about all of the Epstein survivors she has spoken with, and now has to be worried about her mom being missing and Donald Trump dabbling in that business, with Caroline Levitt and him speaking on being late to a briefing because they're looking at video footage regarding Savannah Guthrie's mom. Savannah Guthrie is one of the premier journalists in society today. She has a connection to what could be the biggest American political unraveling of all time, and she can't even do her job.
Well, and I found out that her husband used to work in the Clinton administration under Al Gore. It's all connected.
I just want to say one more thing. Albert Einstein said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." Everything that is happening is connected. Right now, we just learned from Al Jazeera, who did research, there were nearly 3,000 Palestinians in Gaza who have vanished or evaporated due to the use of high temperature weapons during the conflict with Israel. What Albert Einstein didn't say about World War III is that it would all be orchestrated for profit. And that is what's happening. Fallout, the show on Amazon, really documents this. They will profit off of our collective demise. 1, to save themselves. 2, to distract and cleanse of the poor and the weak. And this also pertains to ICE and detainment profits. The 2 largest private prison corporations, GEO Group and Core Civic, reported significant profits, with total quarterly revenues in 2025 exceeding $636 million and $538 million respectively. And the projected budget increases for ICE are expected to reach $520 million in profit for the fiscal year of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to add to that except for, there was a documentary made about a decade ago about the amendment that allows our government to profit off of our labor while we're incarcerated. Okay? This government is skilled at creating ways to make money off of us, whether we are dead or we are in jail. And what we are seeing is something that has been in the pipeline since before you or I were created, since before our parents were created. So I used to work on this podcast called Say You're Sorry. And it was about, the podcast itself was about, every episode was dedicated to an apology. And it was from James Charles to Nazis, okay? And what I learned is that the Nazis, the reason why we call them brown shirts, the reason why they had brown shirts is because they started training in Namibia in Africa. And they did a genocide in Namibia before they were killing Jews in the 30s. And so a lot of their tactics that they got from the United States. And so all of this, going back to it's all connected, whether it be the United States or Israel or Germany or Russia, the people who are in power are in cahoots with each other on how they can extract everything they can from us. We are the human cattle. The word chattel slavery, comes from cattle. We are the cattle.
I think we lost sight of the caste system because it's not Republican versus Democrat. It's not gay versus straight. It's not black versus white. It is the elites, the kings and queens pulling all of the strings versus the rest of us.
I agree. So Valentine's Day is this weekend, and I consider myself to be a romantic, or at least I did. I always thought I was a romantic person. Rom-coms is my favorite genre. But then as I started dating romantic people, I realized that maybe I'm not that romantic. Maybe I'm a curmudgeon. And I wanted to ask you, have you ever really celebrated Valentine's Day?
Other than bringing in Fun Dip for like my 4th and 5th grade class with a to and from on it, no.
Okay. Well, I've had lots of boyfriends and girlfriends in my life, and I've had various versions of Valentine's Day, but my most memorable Valentine's Day was when I was 17 years old and I was working at the Kentucky Fried Chicken in Cedar Hill, Texas. And the guy that I was dating at the time came and brought 24 roses to the KFC on a Sunday when all the black people were in there after church. And made a spectacle, and I felt like queen of the fucking world.
Did you feel more high than the black women who videotaped their extravagant prom?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't even know
yeah.
Like they're...
Yes, it's like they're in Coming to America and they're getting married. Yes. No, I felt, because mind you, working fast food, you are grimy, you are dusty, you are dirty. I had my little hat on, I had my little polo shirt on, and my little chinos.
My grimiest job was Walgreens. I am so happy that I never worked in like a fast food chain.
Oh my God. My first job was I worked at Sonic. I was on them roller skates.
I was too oily during those years to even be in that environment. The cystic acne that I would have had. Oh my God. And also, I have worked in food service, but not fast food. When I worked at the PF Chang's, you couldn't keep me away from the rice.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I got big. I didn't realize what it would do. What I will say about Valentine's Day, because I knew you were going to ask me something about it, is oddly enough, all of my relationships always start in Q1. So like between January and March. Like,
interesting.
So I've never celebrated, but I can't remember how it's either been acknowledged or kind of glossed over, because even in recent years, I've been dating or seeing people in the months between January and February, but it's not serious enough to do anything on the day itself.
Do you consider yourself a romantic person?
I'm in my Loverboy era right now because I'm crushing on someone. And I think that, like, when I am crushing on someone, I think that at the worst, it's obsessive, but like at the best, it's like me feeling cutesy. But in the like regular, day-to-day scheduled programming, no, I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself romantic, but I would say I think I'm a very thoughtful person. So like, I think that like someone could interpret that as a romantic quality.
That's definitely a romantic quality. That's where I have found that I am not a romantic person. Like when I want to be considerate for someone, I do little things for my husband, but it's very much in service of our greater life. Like I'm going to do the dishes so he doesn't have to. Like that kind of stuff. Like I'm not thinking of like little things, his favorite this, let me go, and you know what I mean?
No, you are thoughtful. For my birthday, like you got me a hat that said I'm not for everybody, because we have determined that I am not for everybody. Like that was an inside joke.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is what thoughtfulness is.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Maybe I'm just less so in the romantic space.
At least you're not Zayn Malik shitting on your baby mama saying I was never in love with her on Call Her Daddy. Like, inside thought.
So yeah, on Call Her Daddy, he was talking about his ex-girlfriend / baby mama, Gigi Hadid, saying, I respect her and I do love her, but I was never in love with her. Like, why the hell would you ever say that out loud?
Yeah, also that makes your child seem less intentional, which, like, you know, even if it was a surprise, it's kind of like my mom always telling me that I was from Never Never Land because she never wanted me. She thought it was a joke. And guess what? She was the nicest person in my household.
That's insane.
She got it she got it from my brother, who loved Peter Pan. She got the Never Never Land analogy from. So it really burned. What I want to say is it's lodged up here.
We really need to unpack this one day.
Well, we can unpack it, but just to say that, like, these mindless words that some people utter that are then on public, especially on public record, I'm like, this never needed to be said, including the Olympian who on the global stage admitted that he cheated on his girlfriend, and as an act of love, he was willing to confess and come clean. And I'm like, baby boy, she's never going to marry you, because what's the Vogue article going to say when they come to take your photos? Oh, remember the time that he was on the Olympic stage after he got his bronze medal, no less, and he said he cheated on you?
I just thought Norwegians were much nicer than this. Like, they have been selling me on a lie. He got up there and talked his hurty-dirty and was like, I cheated. And here's the thing. I think that this was a last-ditch effort. I think she had him blocked on everything. And he was like, let me get up here and she'll have to see this shit. Now he's saying he regrets doing it. Yeah, fool. Because people are like, are you fucking insane? And also, you didn't get your boo back.
No.
Men are not okay. They will do everything except go to fucking therapy.
You know who also needs therapy and is not okay?
Who?
Probably spinning out as we speak. Lost her check, Jill Zarin.
Jill Zarin, who I have not thought about in a decade.
Because she hasn't been around. She was removed from the Roni cast pretty early on. She was grading on that show.
She was obsessed with Bethany Frankel. Bethany had to tell her, leave me alone. Jill Zarin came out in response to the halftime show with Bad Bunny and said that she thought it was racist because there were no white people.
And it was in Spanish.
And
not to mention, she really wanted to flag that it was America's 250th birthday.
Yes.
Which Puerto Rico is in America. and that the NFL sold out by sponsoring a, quote, political message, when I want to just say, the message couldn't have been any less political in some ways. It said, love is stronger than hate, and then showed every flag in the Americas, and just happened to be in Spanish, a language that many Americans speak in a country that has no national language. Because at the best of America, or what should be the best of America, is that we're a melting pot. The Irish came here, the Italians came here, Puerto Ricans came here, but we all had to erase our culture and forget what we once known to just, I don't know, become white.
Well, what was crazy to me is that she was like, it was political because there was no white people, and then very quickly said that she didn't recognize Lady Gaga's new face, a white woman.
Also, if you just like rubbed your eyes and squinted, you could see Alex Earl in the casita.
I'm sorry, the man who got married, they had the real wedding.
Oh, it was a biracial couple?
That man looked white to me. I mean, race is a construct, but my brain saw. All to say that Jill Zarin, you got fired, and you deserve to get fired.
Well, she got fired from Ease the Golden Life, and then wanted to say, I'm human. They didn't even give me a chance. You didn't give him a chance. You didn't give Bad Bunny or any Spanish speaker in America a chance to celebrate their culture. And while he was celebrating his culture, he made sure to celebrate everyone, including you. But what I will say is the most surprising element of this firing from Ease the Golden Life is this is not going to be set in New York. This is set in Palm Beach, Florida. I'm surprised they didn't let her ass just stay on the fucking screen, considering the voting habits of
Palm Beach, Florida. Exactly. Palm Beach, Florida, famously very Trump country.
What I will say is what Bad Bunny was trying to do is illuminate that ignorance really breeds hate, and the only way to combat it is with love, i.e. education.
Or you could just listen to your daughter, and when she tells you they're going to drag you, shut the fuck up.
Oh my God, it was so interesting to see her daughter combat her, Logan Paul combat Jake Paul.
Did you see Jake Paul? Jake Paul's the bad one, right?
They're both bad.
Which one's the real bad one?
One who's exponentially worse is Jake Paul, who lives in Puerto Rico to save money on taxes.
Did you see him rooting for his girlfriend in the Olympics who she won a medal? And I'm like, hold up. You're rooting for your girlfriend who's not competing for America while you're talking shit about an American, Bad Bunny, that he's not really American, but you live in the American place that he's from. Like, the hieroglyphics?
No, truly. You can't make sense of these people. One thing that I can make sense of is Britney Spears selling her entire catalog for, after taxes, a $70 million payday. Because you want to know who should never have to work another day in their lives? Britney Lynn Spears.
Definitely Lynn.
Britney Lynn Spears, a little girl from Louisiana who was taken advantage of for many years. And this is what I wanted to say about Britney Spears. Remember who freed Britney? Conspiracy theorists, otherwise known as fans, who knew she was being taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. And it was because of these conspiracy theories and the conspiracy theory of Free Britney that she ultimately was freed.
Yeah.
We as a culture, we watch people be preyed on. We are preyed on. And we have all of these cultural blind spots, and it's all connected.
Well, and we as spectators help to prey on these people, right? Because they are spectacle for us. And Britney had people in her own family preying on her downfall.
Profiteering off of her.
Children, I mean, again, with it's all connected, Britney Spears is like the girls in the Epstein files in that People did not care enough about her early on. She was simply a pawn in their chess game.
How do you have authority at age 14, 15, 16 when people are thrusting you into a hypersexualized pipeline? I'm starting to sound like a conservative Christian now because I'm like, oh, wait, there is a problem with children being hypersexualized, and we've excused it all of these years.
Kid Rock said, if there's grass on the field, let's play. Meaning, if she has pubic hair, you start getting pubic hair about 12 years old. If she can bleed, she can have sex.
Death to anyone who thinks like that. And meanwhile, we're losing people, James Van Der Beek being one of them.
Yeah, James Van Der Beek died way too soon. He was 48 and died of colon cancer. It is a cancer that is more and more killing young people. Like in the last 10 years, the risk of a person in their 40s getting colon cancer has gone up exponentially.
Earlier colonoscopies, people, and also for men, get your prostate checked and get your vaccination against HPV.
Well, at some point you get to be too old.
I know, but even you should still get it in your 20s if you haven't already.
Yeah. Not to sound like a complete tinfoil hat person, but I'm going to go there. In the 70s, we did not have the insurance structure that we have today. The insurance structure that we have today, where we have all of these, you have Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield and Anthem and all of this stuff, this is fairly new. And it is because, ding, 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 capitalism has run amok. We had to fight in recent years to bring down the age of getting a colonoscopy to 45 because young people are dying of colon cancer. And a colonoscopy is really, really expensive. And if you are not, unless you are bleeding from your asshole or experiencing something really, really, really strange, they won't pay for you to get a colonoscopy before 45. And it used to be 50. But again, young people are dying. And so, yeah, I will just double down on get all the shit done that you're supposed to get done that they will pay for.
Also, what's really scary is James Van Der Beek comes from one of the most successful teen programs of all time, Dawson's Creek. But it's also a reminder that an artist is only as great as their next paycheck in an economy where they're freelancers. You know what he was doing to pay for these treatments? Selling off memorabilia. His castmates had done a public reading in order to generate some income for his survival. It is insane. It's unfathomable for people to understand that, like, someone as successful as him, that was the protagonist of an iconic program, only 20 years later is struggling financially and can't afford his medical treatments. No one is immune to surviving America's bad healthcare. But I will also say that show gave us some icons, and we've talked about Michelle Williams once or twice. And when we're talking about Michelle Williams, we have the cultural competency to know whether we're talking about white Michelle Williams or black Michelle Williams without having to name it.